Okay, so in the previous video, I mistakenly thought that the diplomatic option, which is option number 6, would end up calming both Wengra and Beregan, while in fact it turned out that it caused Beregan to leave. I didn't want that. So here I am, redoing the choice again. If I wanted Beregan to leave, yeah, I mean, I was duped by the diplomatic tag at the side of choice number 6. Aris says, Wengra says no difference. One ogre stings as bad as the next. Aris says, calm down everyone. None of that matters now. Darian and Wengra grumble, shifting on their feet and glaring sullenly. After a pause, Beregan looks back at you.
I came to offer my clan's help.
Beregan folds her hands. The others gawk at her.
The White March has been our home for centuries. We'll defend it alongside you.
The ogres flanking her grunt their assent. Aris says, your aid would be welcome. Beregan presents an ancient banded horn in both of her callous hands, holding it out to you.
Sound it anywhere in the White March, and 3 of my best warriors will be at your side. Your battles become ours.
Beregan bows. So for the next conversations, it's pretty much will be the same as in the previous video, so I'm going to breeze through it.
What's your plan for dealing with them exact? You'll forget it. Tell him. I guess you're right.
Ahem. You know,
If it's I'm here.
Wait, I wanna go to Korbal first. I wanna sell some items. The Abydonians took over Ondra's temple. Stalwart needs skilled smiths. For what? Villager says the Abydonians took over Ondra's temple. Stalwart needs skilled smiths more than ever. Right? Captain Ogni. A few town guards stand arrayed around a sprawled corpse. One of them turns as you approach, giving you a nod. Captain Ogni says, "You've got an uncanny sense of timing, Lord Arismital. This one here has been after you all day." Sagani squints at the corpse. Looks bigger than the last one. What? Which last one? Aris asks, "Excuse me?" Captain Ogni says, "This woman was going about town asking about your whereabouts, not in a polite sort of way either. She got nervous in a hurry when we happened by, nearly took Royland's head off." Ah. Aris says, "Ah." Ogni looks a little disappointed. "Well, I suggest having a look at what she was carrying. See if you recognize anything." Examine the assassin. Which one is Captain Ogni? That one? Best keep an eye out, says the town guard. Guess we ought to get a shovel. Yeah, you ought. A few town guards stand arrayed around a sprawled corpse. One of them turns as you approach, giving you a nod. A woman's cooling corpse lies half buried in the snow. The cause of death is clear, a narrow wound under her throat. The essence here is already faint and fading fast. Reach out. You plunge into a cold darkness, scattered images sliding past before you can grasp more than an echo, and then light. Sunlight filters down through gaps in the canopy, illuminating short stretches of the bog. Mud and knee-deep water foul each step. Your legs are already tired and you've barely started. You must resign yourself to discomfort. You'll come to the river soon enough. Follow it as it bends north. It is a mantra in your thoughts. Reach Stalwart. Find the Watcher. Follow him. Retrieve the phylactery. Ah. The phylactery I got from Consul Hout after killing him. Is it? Consul Hout's killer will not fall easily. But if you are careful, that task will not fall to you alone. Your master will deal with the Watcher. It is only a matter of time. The memory slips away, returning you to the familiar sight of Stalwart village. Perhaps stirred into flight by your perusal, the soul essence begins to dissipate, fading from your sight. The memory of the dead woman's journey lingers with you. However, to the southwest beyond the White March, there lies a bog. and an enemy awaits you there. Someone who hired this assassin to kill me to retrieve the phylactery. Explore the wilds to the southwest of Stalwart. I can't reach the pockets. Why? I should have reached the pockets first. Dang it. Dang it. Moergek Ien. One day, 2 hours, alright? At the edge of all known things, the famous and wealthy Rawata scholar Amaya has been compiling a massive codex of Eora's varied legends over her long life, pulling from Aumawa sources as well as from Aidir, Old Valia, the Ishamital Plains, and Nasitak. The work is truly gargantuan, spanning thousands of pages. While she has had scribes busy for the last 2 decades copying her current body of work, a few folk tales have remained out of her reach. She has attempted to contact the elder Glamfelen of the White Dead Wens, arrange a special meeting with the Aidir Ines Sithrua, Sichthrua, and sit among the most revered Riau of Erglanfath. In all attempts, she has been unsuccessful due to various threats that stand in her way. These last subjects will be the final chapter of her life's work, and she is seeking experienced adventurers to assist her. As large as these mushrooms are, you see far vaster forms dotting the swamp beyond the tree line. Gaps between the stones reveal a hollow space lined with bird's nest. Will-o-wisp. I can't interact with it. Why?
Blazing cart. What am I supposed to do now?
Herla, who is this? Is she a dwarf? I guess so. Herla says, "Dang hing that." Herla turns towards you and promptly jumps in surprise. Herla says, "Blazes, where'd you come from? Haven't seen another soul on the road for a day at least." Aris says, "Need a hand?" Herla says, "Well, a helpful spirit, right out of the fables. I appreciate it, but I'll manage. All I need is for Beno to come stomping right on back. We're late enough as it is. Last thing I need is his dang tantrums." Aris asks, "What happened with Beno?" Herla says, "What didn't happen? He's a spiteful crap most days, but out here he's been downright intolerable. He got real sour face when the cart tipped over. Decided to storm off in a huff. Now I'm stuck here waiting for him. Word of advice, if you ever find yourself in the trading business, keep it in the family." Aris says, "I could try to find him." Herla says, "I'd appreciate it. You bring that stubborn goat back and I'll set aside some coin for you." Herla says, "Dang that Benno. I can't leave the cart alone. It'll only go and sink again." Aris asks, "Do you have any idea which way he went?" Herla says, "Went tromping off to the south." Herla sighs, "I hope he's alright. This is no place to go wandering." Aris asks, "Can I see what you have for sale?" Herla says, "Well, sure. Might as well lighten our load. I'll try and get the worst of the muck off."
I'm here. Yes?
You notice movement amidst the mud and debris. Inside of the broken crates, a young bat flaps feebly, pinned in place by a fallen plank. Pick it up. You gently lift the plank out of the way and pick up the young bat. It squeaks once, but seems otherwise content to peer out at the world from the relative safety of your hand. You gain an item, bulk battling. Is it a pet? I guess it's a pet. Beneath the water's murky surface lie worn engravings and ancient stones buried in the silt. The plumes of gas ejected by these vents have a strong, acrid odor.
Hey, you! I need help!
Benno, this man is half obscured by the riot of lights and sigils emerging from the mud around him. He brings up an arm to shield his eyes, peering out at you. Benno says, "Are you one of them? You don't look like some mad bog cultist." Benno looks behind you, searching. Aris says, "I'll take that as a compliment." Benno says, "They've got some kind of settlement out here." Benno points to the west. "I ran in the opposite direction, stumbled onto this mess. Look, help me out. I've been stuck here for ages. This thing's some kind of wall. It's got to be some kind of spell, right? I don't know the first thing about magic." Benno presses his palm against what seems to be thin air to demonstrate. Aris says, "Let me ask you something first." Benno says, "What? What do you want to know? I'm stuck. Captive audience for your questions, I guess." Aris asks, "You ran towards the corpse?" Benno says, Look, we've had a real bad time getting our goods to Stalwart. I thought I could find something to make up for our losses. Not like this poor fool would miss it." "Oh, Benno is a grave robber." Aris asks, "Do you feel any strange effects?" Benno says, "No, well, there's this, whispering, I guess. I thought it was just more of those wizard types." Benno shifts uncomfortably. Aris says, "That's all the questions I had." Benno says, "Good, great. Now can you help me out?" Aris says, "I'll have a look around." Benno says, "Great, thank you for this. You won't regret it." Benno says, "You're back. Get me out of here." Aris says, "I'm trying. I'll see what I can find." These sinking walls are coated in grime and vegetation. Age and muck have pried the stones apart. Thick vines are coiled all about the lower section of the wall, bristling with thorns. But there is a section just here, where the vines are less dense. Hack away some of the vines. You work at dislodging the worst of the vines from the upper wall, while it contributes somewhat to the prickly carpet of vegetation waiting for you at the bottom. The path is much clearer. You make your way down without incident. You find yourself before a large rounded chamber, flooded with water. Oh, really? Oh, now I'm walking in the water. Dang it. The bricks around these bars have crumbled away over the centuries, forming sizable gaps. A considerable drop awaits on the other side, but the area below appears to be clear. Stay here a little longer. Maybe I should go here. Squeeze through. You hoist yourself up onto the ledge. The stones wobble underfoot but hold, if barely, and you make your way past the bars and out. Oh, I'm climbing up? Okay. Dang it.
Lava rule. Aztek worth
What's this?
Lava Ionni seek.
An angry letter. Brethren, I appreciate that you are attempting to assist me, but when I asked for volunteers, I meant just that. I have no interest in raising corpses, and these sorry victims of yours are of no use to me. I have taken precautions to prevent us finding ourselves hip deep in ghouls. While you clean up the maiden heap you have made of my ritual circle, perhaps you can take the time to refamiliarize yourself with the simple concept that a dead man makes a poor source of soul essence, Brathr. So they are necromancers, yeah?
What's this?
A wall of thick vines rises from the mud of the bog. They grow in unnatural twining cords, bristling with thorns. Though there are gaps between the vines, maneuvering through will take some care and time. Go on through. As you approach the vines, they shudder and pull away from you, forming a clear path through which to cross. You pass safely, only to hear rustling behind you as the vines bar passage, curling into a tight knot of thorns and vegetation. What? You notice movement up ahead. A robed figure rushes forward, stumbling through the muck. He blows a single piercing tone on a signal horn. The sound carries through the bog, echoing off the cloistered trees and ruins. Beneath it, you hear an ominous rumble, and the murky water to the north begins to bubble and pitch. A slick, scaly snout crests the water's surface. It is the only warning you receive before a massive beast rises from the bog in a shower of mud and bog water. The dragon shakes vegetation from its horns, then lowers its head to set a keen eye upon you. Wow, a dragon. Hold your ground. The dragon watches you disinterestedly. It stands still, as if waiting. You notice a small dark shape in the distance. You feel a sudden buffering gust of wind from above as the shape grows. A winged silhouette descends swiftly upon the clearing. Another dragon? As the second dragon comes to a heavy landing, you take note of the figure atop its back, a woman with sweeping horns, garbed in flowing robes. She slides from the dragon's back in one graceful movement.
The Watcher of Cadnua. I expected you'd find us eventually.
Lengrath.
I'm a little more surprised to find you're still carrying that abomination around. I imagine Consulholt is better company without his tongue.
Aris says, I'm getting used to having him around.
You could do better, I have to say. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I am Lengroth.
Lengrath bows slightly at the waist. Aris says, I thought Lengrath was a man. How does Aris knows about Lengrath? Lore? Of course.
As was my predecessor, he too lives on in me. We are all, you see, Lengroth.
Lengrath smiles. Predecessor? We are all, you see, Lengrath. Two people with the same name. Is it passed down? Soul?
Lengroth knew something Consulholt did not. The brevity of life should be embraced, not feared. Each generation brings with it renewed strength and saves us from stagnation. When his time came, Lengroth was willing to let go, to leave his memories and body behind. He entrusted the gift of his life force, his vibrant spirit, to a worthy successor.
Ah, okay. I see. So he passed down his name and his life force, his spirit, to this woman who is now called Lengrath.
Consulholt clung to his pathetic existence like a leech. And there are others like him, who would see all the world serve as kindling, if only their flame can go on burning. Consulholt's knowledge cannot outlive him.
Lengrath looks at you pointedly. Aris asks, aren't you doing the same thing, transferring souls?
You misunderstand. A wolf devouring a hare has done nothing outside its nature. One life feeds the next. Ours is the work of generations, many minds coming together to strengthen one another.
Yeah, I guess there's a difference. Consulhout seek to prolong his life, while Lengrath is transferring his soul to the next, worthy successor. So it's a combined soul? Like awakening then? Someone with an awakening? Is that so? Aris asks, that's why you were after the phylactery? To destroy it?
More than that, to ensure it could never be replicated. You yourself could easily have become the latest tool in Consulhout's efforts to thwart the wheel and place himself beyond the reach of time. He would have used your very essence for fuel. A lesser death than you deserve, I think. But you made it out.
Of course, Aris made it out. He's awesome.
In truth, I am glad you came. It saves me the effort of chasing you.
Aris asks, why is the phylactery so dangerous?
Think on it. You must have seen how desperately Kith cling to their lives. What measures they're willing to take to ensure theirs is the consciousness that lingers longest. The phylactery was to be Consulhout's great triumph over death. All the evil that Kith have done in search of falsehoods would pale in the face of what they will do for the truth.
Aris asks, how it... Aris says, I'm not sure everyone's as willing as Consulhout was to carve up their own skulls.
It only takes one.
Aris asks, how is it you are working with such creatures?
These two? They're quite young, but already appallingly bright. There's no greater aim than to leave behind a lasting legacy, to teach those who will learn.
Lengrath's teachings are interesting.
Gafonerkos.
We will strengthen our souls as they do. Morgek-Ion will be our home for eons.
Turisulfus, Gafornekos, and Turisulfus. Aris says, wait, at least help me understand.
It'd be a shame to die confused.
Yeah, you are right, Kana.
It's not as if you'll understand for very long, but as you wish.
Aris says, I found some of your victims in the bog. Wait, what victims? I didn't see it.
Intruders, mostly. How pleasant it would be to live in a world where nothing unfortunate ever happened to those who didn't deserve it, don't you think?
That would be dreadful.
What? That would be dreadful? So they want to live in a world where people who don't deserve it get it. Ah, this woman, this Lengrath, and these two dragons, they are psychopaths. Well, maybe they just love seeing people in agony. Interesting. A psychopathic, I guess, a psychopathic combination of the men and women Lengrath and two psychopathic dragons. Aris asks, do you possess more than Lengrath's title? What about his memories?
His memories, his awareness, those died with him. But his power remains. As a watcher, you must have seen by now that certain spirits possess more strength than others.
Okay, so Lengrath's memories are not transferred to this new Lengrath. Only his power.
His knowledge we secure in the usual way. It is my hope that we will someday spread Lengrath's teachings beyond our numbers.
And what is Lengrath's teachings?
Your books are too small to read. Better to learn it in song.
Aris asks, song?
No singing.
Turisulfus grinds his jaw. Aris asks, how did you become Lengrath?
A great deal of study and a little magic. Once a suitable candidate has been selected, their predecessor gives up his life and essence, and the soul is transferred. I studied for many years and was selected, but at any step I might have turned away, buried myself in common living. My choice was to stay.
Aris asks, you don't find that unnatural?
Not at all. The energy of souls is a natural force all around us. Every being leaves traces of their passing, even as their essence finds root in new soil. We accept that the cycle exists, and that death will come. It is what we leave behind that matters, a life bettered by our efforts.
Aris asks, were you and Consulhout always enemies?
No, not at all. Oh, he and the original Lengrath were distantly aware of each other, I'm sure, being masters in their field. I learned of his obsessions too late. Perhaps if we'd been on better terms, I could have convinced him to reconsider.
Who's him? You mean Consulhout?
Too late in any case.
Yeah, Aris killed Consulhout. Aris asks, why are you out here?
Why? Because it's quiet, out of the way. The local wildlife keeps out the rabble.
Lengrath laughs.
I've never minded being out in the open air, but some of the apprentices found it difficult at first. But a bright young mind that can't survive contact with blood and dirt will fare very poorly in this world.
Some of the apprentices, you mean the bog cultists I fought earlier? Aris says, that's all I wondered about.
A curious mind is a gift. Perhaps your soul will retain that quality.
Aris says, Consulhout and I weren't exactly friends.
And for killing him, at least, I do thank you. But you should not have interfered. Commander Ballerin would have brought me the phylactery. All of this could have been avoided.
Oh, okay. So she's the one who hired the Torn Bannerman. Aris asks, why hire the Torn Bannerman anyway?
Discretion. It would hardly have been ideal to fly in atop Gavanerkos and get the attention of every dragon hunter in the region.
There are a lot of dragon hunters in Deerwood? Really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
I'd heard the Bannermen were competent. It turns out that you're more competent.
Well, it's not just Aris, but also his companions and the forces of Kait Nua under Aris' command. They're all competent. Aris asks, what if I just give you the phylactery?
We could simply take it from you. After.
Ah. Aris says, I'm trying to keep things civil.
Yes, it feels a little macabre for my tastes, like the Stelgar with a hair.
What will benefit Aris most? Fight Lengrath or not? Aris says, I believe we have much to teach one another.
I'm listening.
What will benefit Aris the most? Fighting Lengrath or not? Aris says, I'm a watcher. There must be something I can teach you.
Careful. Your gift is not something to barter away. Consulhot wanted your soul very badly.
Aris says, never mind then. Lengrath smiles faintly. Aris says, the secret of Consulhout's phylactery is mine, and mine alone.
You won't live to regret those words.
Okay.
I'll take the Watcher. You can have his friends.
No.
Navaru, beyond seek!
Uluthen! Uluthen!
Will I survive this? I don't know. No. Durance and Aloth are both knocked out.
This
Thing isn't doing the job.
Alright, Aris won. Aris and his companions won. They're awesome.
Yes?
Alright. So, Aris killed Lengrath. Aris and Co killed Lengrath.
I shall.
Why is the song still playing? It should stop, right? Path north. Brathr's notes. This weathered piece of parchment holds a series of nearly illegible notes, and what appears to be some kind of diagram. A series of symbols lines the periphery of a crudely drawn circle. One particular set of 5 symbols has been repeatedly circled.
Of course.
Let's see what we found.
Carrying too much weight.
I'm here.
Benno says, "You're back. Get me out of here." At the edge of the ritual circle, scratching to the mud, you notice 5 familiar characters, just like the ones in the notes you found. Without knowing what to look for, there'd be no more than furrows in the dirt. Examine the symbols more closely. You crouch down, but you can't see anything inherently interesting about the scratches. Benno says, "What? Did you find something?" Past the barrier, Benno watches you with rapt interest. A flicker of movement catches your attention, and you look up to see that you've gained an audience. What? Tethered spirit. In this dim light, the spirit is nearly invisible, a shimmer of essence that you can barely pick out against the bog. You begin to see more shapes coalescing in the fog. The first raises its hands. Tethered spirit says, "Wait, please." Aris asks, "Who are you?" Benno says, "What? Thought we went over that. You feeling alright?" Tethered spirit says, "Brathr called us here, but his spirit slips our grasp. We would continue our work, if you will let us. It is all the purpose that remains to us. The betterment of the self, the craft of virtue." This man, Benno, is poked through with jealousy, with petty lusts. He thieves from his partner. He abandoned his child. But his essence holds the same brilliant potential of any man. And while your soul watcher is a bright and fierce thing, his is fragmented, weak. Let us mend it, shape it. Aris asks, "How would you do that?" Tethered spirit says, "As one might carve the rod from an apple, it is painless, freeing. He would feel himself unburdened." Aris asks, "Can you shape anyone's soul?" Tethered spirit says, "Those set before us freely. Those weakened by many turns upon the wheel, yours has been strengthened by your journey, like tempered steel." Aris asks, "What do you want from me then?" Wait. Does Aris really want to shape this Benno's soul? Is it even in Aris's place to do that? But I'm curious, what would this spirit ask of Aris? Aris asks, "What do you want from me then?" Tethered spirit says, "Give us time to work upon him. Then we shall release him, and you may do with him as you please." What will Aris do? Will he be in favor of shaping Benno's soul? Or allow Benno to remain as he is now? Aris, what would Aris do? Aris is unsure. Aris doubts the tethered spirit's words. What if it turns out to be worse? Huh? but also the opportunity to make him better is also enticing to Aris. But I think Aris is much more inclined towards not towards having doubts about the tethered spirit's claim that he can improve Benno's soul. Aris says, "Get away from him." You see the spell barrier ripple, and Benno looks up in excited anticipation. But you sense too a sudden energy in the air, an upswell in the soul essence bound to this place. The gathered spirits howl in thwarted frustration, and this time Benno flinches at the sound.
Lava. Aluthen. 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 Aluthen.
Aluthen. What does it mean? Aluthen. Wait, what happened? Is this a bug? Benno says, "You did it. I'm free." Erla, where are you? Why is he looking for Herla? It took Nasu more than 3 attempts to contact the Glamfellen of the White Dead Wens without being attacked. When Amaya was finally able to speak with the elders, she wrote down their stories about where the Glamfellen had come from, how they had arrived at the bottom of the world so long ago. Getting access to the sacred Adra's sepulchre of the Ideal Emperors, the Ini Sishtrua, involved more than a little trickery. Even though Amaya was only able to speak with the spirits of the dead emperors for a few minutes, it was enough to complete that portion of her research. The wise ones of Erglanfath, the Riau, entertained Amaya's requests, but they questioned her for days to ensure that she would not share their sacred secrets, nor portray their people in a bad light. The Riau passed on their stories of the early days of Erglanfath, how they had arrived there, and how they had received their instructions to guard the Angwithan ruins for all time. Satisfied that her research was complete, Amaya returned to Arawatai to pen her final chapters and have them copied by her scribes, though it will be several years until any complete copies emerge. She gifted Nasu with a condensed codex of her essential work, including a large number of spells that had been enchanted into the last few pages. Amaya's Codex. This massive book contains an abridged version of the Rawatai scholar Amaya's life's work. Though it will be several years until Amaya's full text is published in many volumes, she gave you this gift for assisting her in collecting a few key pieces of information from hard-to-reach places. Herla says, "Hey, there you are. Benno mentioned something about you saving his hide." Benno says, "Well, I wouldn't put it." Herla says, Yeah. Benno's grateful, and so am I. You've been a huge help here. It's from my personal stock. Figure you deserve this. Maybe now we'll actually make this delivery." Aris says, "Glad nobody's run off into the bog again." Herla says, "Believe me, it's been tempting." Benno grunts and folds his arms. Aris says, "Any chance I could buy some goods off you?" Herla says, "Of course. Consider yourself a favorite customer." Herla says, "At least there's one friendly face out here. You doing alright?" Aris says, "Farewell." Benno says, "Thanks again. If I ever step foot in this place again, it'll be too soon."
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you? Top quality bear pelt.
Shining bright from on high, she bade him come down from his palace.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you?
Farewell.
So far, Aris has slain 2 Archmage, Consulhaut and Lengrath, in addition to the Adra Dragon and the Ice Dragon, in addition of making Kaidnua safe again and repelling the hostile takeover by one of the noble, and cement his rightful place as a ruler of Kailnua. Aris's name must have spread far and wide by now. I don't know what to say if his name still isn't known far and wide. That would be most likely impossible.
So, you said the eyeless came from the Abbey? I'd heard rumors of the eyeless, but I always thought that name was a metaphor. Though I would have called them Mace Hands of Doom, if anyone had asked me.
Aris says that's why they didn't.
Ah, you wound me.
Maneha places her hand over her heart.
So this is the mysterious army you've been dreaming about, huh? It's a wonder you're getting any sleep.
Aris says that's why I came to the Abbey in the first place, to stop them.
I'm regretting all of my decision-making up to this point.
Maneha sighs.
Still, I guess a suicidal plan is better than none.
Aris asks, something on your mind?
Well, knowing that I'm finally close to getting rid of this memory, it feels like it's crowding my head that much more.
Maneha paces and locks her fingers into her hair.
It's been with me for decades. Driven me halfway across the known world.
Maneha throws her hands up. Aris asks, Anne? Maneha stops pacing and sighs.
It's time I told you what I did.
Aris says, take your time.
It was a war. Centuries ago, before Adiran unification.
Maneha folds her hands in front of herself.
I was a soldier then. Led a campaign across the northern forests to subdue some of the outlying Kalklan villages. Brutal work.
This must be one of her past lives, right? Aris asks, I don't understand, what war?
This was 500 years ago, when Adir was a folk kingdom on one side and elven country on the other. They fought on and off before they joined. Now the folk and elven rulers marry to keep the peace.
Aris says, go on.
Right, the campaign. Lost 1/3 of my forces to the forest, and another 1/3 to the elven scouts hiding in it. By the time we reached the first village, we'd crushed their defenses, and they'd bled us.
Maneha shakes her head.
Wasn't much more than children and the elderly left, but they spit on us when we marched into town.
A scowl twists her face. Maneha's eyes are cold.
The village elders surrendered and offered us lodging in the old meeting hall. And when the sun set, they tried to burn it down around us.
Maneha closes her eyes.
They barely got a flame going, but that wasn't the point.
Aris asks, what was it?
In their defiance, I saw months more of pointless, bloody battle as we fought for the rest of the region. I had to break them. And I had to send a message to the rest of the villages.
Maneha's hands shake as she raises them to cover her face.
So I nailed every last one of them to the trees around the town and left them there to die.
Aris asks, what happened then?
I never remembered more.
Maneha shrugs.
Eventually, Adir and Kalklan united. The gentlefolk forgave each other for what they'd done to each other's people.
Aris asks, you killed those villages to prevent more fighting?
That's what I kept telling the troops.
Maneha's quiet for a long time before she speaks again.
But if I'm honest, I was angry. I wanted to see pain. And I wanted to be the one holding a blade.
Aris asks, you've been a mercenary and a pirate in this life. Is that really different? Is that really so different?
I've done my share of fighting these 40-odd years. But I've never drawn my blade just to watch someone bleed. And I've never drawn it on someone who didn't have his own in hand.
Aris says, you've got no reason to hold on to a memory from 500 years ago.
So I've tried to tell myself. Anyway, we should get going.
Maneha shoulders her pack, and you catch a glimpse of something unusual in it. A thick roll of cloth bound by leather. Aris asks, what's that?
Something I've been saving for better days.
Maneha tucks it away.
Hard to imagine a whole sect living out here. But I guess that's the point. Smells like an ocean breeze. We've got to be close. It's here. The salt well.
In the room is a pool. It's small but deep enough that you can see the bottom. The glassy surface almost looks frozen. So does Maniha. She stands rooted in place, staring at it.
You know, I thought it'd be bigger.
Aris says, looks deep anyway.
Gift bearers say the heaviest regrets and greatest sorrows get left here. So it better be.
Maniha peers in. Aris says, and I thought you'd be diving in by now. Maniha makes a little noise of frustration in the back of her throat.
You know how when you've been thinking about something so long, you're worried that when you finally get it, it won't be what you expected?
Maniha tugs at one of her bracelets.
I mean, for all we know, that thing's just filled with leeches.
Aris says you're stalling.
Don't remind me.
Maniha sighs. Aris asks, what if your memory of the massacre has prevented you from committing a similar crime?
That was my soul, but it wasn't me. I was a different person, shaped by a different past.
Maniha closes her eyes.
I don't think I could do anything so awful now.
Maniha's hands are clenched in front of her, and her brow is furrowed in determination. Despite it all, she sounds like she's asking a question. Aris says, and this memory has shaped you and taught you restraint. Without it, you might choose differently. Shall I choose number 1 or number 3? Number 3, I'm leaving it up to her. Number 1, I'm encouraging her not to take the plunge. Aris says, and this memory has shaped you and taught you restraint. Without it, you might choose differently. Maniha lets out a long, slow breath.
I was afraid you'd say something like that.
Maniha stares at the well for several seconds.
My parents always said that anything that seems too good to be true probably is. You spend so much time searching for a way to fix what's broken. You don't see that the fixing would only break something else.
Maniha kicks a pebble into the pool. It falls in without so much as a ripple.
Only one thing left to do.
Maniha looks back at you. Aris asks, what's that? Maniha pulls a rolled cloth bundle out of her pack. You recall seeing it earlier. She snaps the leather cords that bind it and unfolds it to reveal a wine bottle.
Took this from the Marcheso's cellar the night I was awakened. One of the finest vintages there.
Marcheso's cellar. Oh yeah, she was talking about one of her operation in Vailia Republic, or was it Old Vailia, where her force took over a palace. She went to the cellar to get some drinks, but an old woman was there, frightened. The next thing she knows, someone struck her from behind. She woke up, the woman wasn't there anymore. She went back to her men, and they didn't see any old woman. I remember that story.
Been saving it to celebrate my new start. I think it's time to open it.
Maneha jams a knife into the cork and twists it out with a squeaking pop. A lush, jammy aroma wafts from the bottle. She holds it under her nose and breathes deeply. Maneha puts the bottle to her lips and tilts it back. After a long, slow drink, she smacks her lips.
A few years past its peak. Good thing we're enjoying it now.
Maneha swirls the wine in the bottle before holding it out to you. Shall I? Aris prefers to keep his head intact. Not to allow himself to not be in control of his thoughts and actions. Aris says no thanks.
Well, suit yourself. I won't let it go to waste.
Maneha finishes the bottle in a few long, deep gulps.
Time to make some good memories.
Maneha was granted satisfied mind, so she didn't went into the salt pool then. Maneha wipes her mouth with the back of her hand. We found a salt well, but Maneha ultimately decided to live with the memory of the massacre.
Lead the way.
Maneha says, "What you got for me?" Aris asks, "How have you been doing since the salt well?" Maneha says, "Knowing that I'm gonna live with my memories the rest of this life and possibly the next." Maneha chuckles. Part of what rankled before was trying to escape and hitting one dead end after another. Maneha crosses her arms and nods to herself. Or worse, feeling like my suffering had no purpose, like it was just some accident of the gods. Maneha pauses, running her fingers around a gold cuff on her arm. Can't say that believing in a reason dulls the memory, but it's given me the strength to face it. Maneha smiles and puts a hand on your shoulder. Wait, don't touch Aris. Off with your filthy hand. Maneha says, point is, you don't need to worry about me, Aris Mittal.
Uh-huh.
I'm here. Yes?
Villager says you're here to hide from those monsters too. You mean the eyeless?
Back to warm your hands, eh? What could...
Chiron's scar. Make your way to the fragment of Ionni, Brathr. Destroy the eyeless. The glass tree. Legends have spread about a hidden valley in the living lands where fantastic creatures are born straight out of the earth. And new plants sprout and bloom every day. Some claim the place is sacred to the gods themselves, where they created all kith and wilder out of the primordial elements that churn just under the surface. Many of the tales describe a breathtaking enormous glass tree with branches that reach across a valley and up to the clouds. They say its base is guarded by a foreboding helm warrior clad head to toe in glittering armor. So many eyeless, dang it.
Once more I am called upon to set right the gods' transgressions. It has become a tiring refrain.
What? Duran says once more I am called upon to set right the gods' transgressions. It has become a tiring refrain. What is it talking about? He speaks as if he's the one that cleans up the deity's transgressions or mess. Who is Durans actually? Is he really one of the 12 Magran priests that created the Godhammer bomb, or is he something else? I mean someone else. I don't know.
Yes? Indeed.
Whoever this was has been long dead. What remains of the flesh is blackened and frozen solid. Touch the corpse. This crater worries you and your 3 companions. It feels wrong, tainted, but the lure of riches is stronger. That giant rock in the center of the lake might contain gold, gems, and more. It took a week of back-breaking labor, but the boat is finished. It may not be entirely watertight, but it'll be enough to get you across the lake and back. You set off from shore, the icy wind filling the sail. Sidon grins at you. He expressed the most doubt that the boat would float. A moment later he's gone, barely managing a scream as a gigantic tentacle yanks him from the boat and under the water. Oh, I hate this. I hate underwater terror. More tentacles emerge from the water. The air is filled with the sound of crackling and splintering wood as the boat gets pulled apart. You dive into the water without a second thought and begin swimming madly for shore, hoping your friends are doing the same. Your heavy furs weigh you down, but by some miracle you make it to the land. You hear a burbling sound and look up to see one of the fish people, a Lagufyth, standing over you, its spear raised. You rise to your knees, your hands raised, showing you have no weapons, that you pose no threat. The Lagufyth make the sounds again. Wait, you start to say, but the creature drives its spear deep into your chest before you can say anything else. Mercifully, the agony is brief before the world fades. So there were 4 people. 1 gets dragged down by a tentacle, 1 gets stabbed by a Lagufyth. What happened to the other 3? I mean, what happened to the other 2?
Of course.
A span of ice flows separates 2 larger sheets. The flows continuously roil the water and bump into each other with arrhythmic cracks. Despite their unstable positions, the flows are packed tightly enough that it's possible you could leap across the span. Still, anyone short on grace and balance stands a good chance of sliding off the ice and into the frigid water. Jump across the flows. With careful deliberation and cautious movements, you reach the other side safely. These are the creatures that attacked, that invaded Durgan's battery. and wipe out the Pargrunen dwarves. Were there survivors of the invasion? I hope so I can ask them the details of what happened during the attack.
I'm here. I'm here. Yes?
You can just make out the blurred shape of an eyeless behind the ice. Creepy.
I shall.
More eyeless. There's no end to them.
Ondrat fanatic.
What's this?
An altar to Ondra, I guess. The crystals, similar to the one that lodged on Abidon's right eye socket. So this must be a piece of the moon, Ionni Brathr.
This thing isn't doing the job.
I have them! Got
I'll have this open in no time. Carrying too much. I'll handle this. It's done. Carrying too much weight.
Cold water drips from the roof of this yurt and puddles in the hearth. Fish bones lie among the coals. Someone carved a swirling crescent into the bench. This yurt reeks of stale sweat. There's only one bedroll inside. The yurt is empty but for a few heavy bedrolls. Undrat fanatic camp. Undrat shrine. Ice flows. Frozen eyeless.
Could have done without the tentacle.
Sagani says, didn't we already fight these things? And Eder says, could have done without the tentacles. Yeah, indeed.
Indeed.
The planks have been peeled from the bow of this old fishing boat.
Chop!
These things have really got it in for us.
Yeah, Eder, I can see that. Ionni Brathr fragment. Oh yeah, the larger pieces. The larger piece, I mean, not pieces.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Get to the crystal at the bottom of the Ionni Brathr. Alright? As you say. What's with this humming sound? Is it coming from inside Ionni Brathr?
Yes?
Hair of Ondra, Columns of water rise up from the pool in front of you, shifting and writhing, whipping air around them in a vortex. This can only be Ondra's hair, appearing before you at a fraction of the size typically reported by mariners unfortunate enough to encounter them on the high seas. So a miniature version of the real thing.
You have done well to have come so far. I confess I was not certain you would make it, but I do not wish to give false hope. The greater challenge remains in front of you.
Aris says, I didn't expect it to be easy.
Running through the core of this rock is a large growth of crystal. You will know it when you see it. A blow to the crystal would reverberate through the walls of this place. Strike it enough and the entire structure would crumble. The eyeless would be buried. Of course, it would take a person years to cause enough damage.
Aris says, but not with the help of the eyeless.
Then you know what must be done. Strike the crystal with Obidon's hammer. The eyeless will wake and come to its call. Join in striking the crystal. They will cluster together and bury themselves. I have realized it is best that they should be ended, for within each of them is a small piece of Obidon himself. Upon their deaths, those fragments and the memories they contain will be safely dispersed. I had not considered the dangers of allowing them to persist, until a watcher appeared at my abbey.
Aris asks, what aren't you telling me?
A single strike upon the crystal will not be enough. The eyeless respond only as long as the hammer rings. You will need to remain until their work is complete, wielding the hammer until the walls come crumbling down.
What? But that would mean... Oh...
Aris says, you might have mentioned that sooner.
What has to be done has not changed. That you are so close makes it more likely you will accept it. The eyeless cannot be reasoned with or fled from. One day not far from now, they would kill you and level the Deerwood. You have seen what they will do. This is the way you can stop them. And the truth is that you are marked by the eyeless for a reason. It would be better for all if the things you have seen were forgotten.
A tidy ending for the Sea Queen. But we'll write our own, right?
I don't want Aris to die here, even if it's to save Deerwood.
Crushing's a bad way to go. Maybe we should just hang ourselves.
The watery columns drop all at once back into the pool, sending up a small splash. The pool settles, and looking down into it you see only the faces of you and your companions, alone and condemned. Dang it all.
Charge! Charge! Attack! Onward!
Pool? What pool is this?
Onward!
Wait, are these three eyeless? They are dormant. Judging by claw marks and scales around the edges of this pool, you believe it is regularly used by Lagufyth. You see something shimmering in the depths of the frigid murky water. Dive in yourself. You dive into the water and immediately feel the cold bite into your skin. It's incredibly frigid, rapidly sapping the warmth from your body. The water is calm, but a person with a weak constitution would suffer greatly if submerged for more than a few moments. Dive toward the shimmering light. You shrug off the intense cold and dive toward the light glinting in the murky depths of the ice cave. You quickly recover a cache of Lagufyth treasures, including a variety of coins and a set of surprisingly well-preserved plate greaves. Unfortunately, the disturbance of the horde was noted by a pack of Lagufyth that are swimming over to investigate. Hiding from the Lagufyth will be difficult, but attempting to outswim them would require phenomenal athletic ability. Attempt to hide. The Lagufyth circle around looking for the source of the disturbance, but don't notice you. After a frustratingly fruitless search, they lose interest and swim off. You return to the surface with your treasure. The Lagufyth do not follow. Yeah, it is best to just hide. Underwater is not the Kith natural habitat. It would be impossible, I think, to fight Lagufyth underwater, unless there's some kind of device or magic that can make a Kith move as if they're on land. Did I get the treasure? Wait, I can do this indefinitely? Oh yes, I can do this indefinitely. Alright. Okay.
What are you waiting for, Watcher? Some god to save you?
Stop teasing Aris Durans. A ridge overlooks a broad chamber half flooded with lake water. You could crawl down this way, but it looks too steep and slick to climb back up. Climb down. Oh no. What is this? Kraken? No. How did that get in here? Who said that? Aloth.
Dad, get in here!
Wait, how can I strike at the crystal? How? Ondra asked me to strike at the crystal, right? Okay, I remember. Ondra said that there is something more. I guess I'm paraphrasing here. Ondra said there is something more scarier than the eyeless. I guess she refers to the Kraken. But now how am I supposed to strike the crystal? I can't get near it. Maybe I should kill the eyeless first? I don't know.
Charge!
No, no!
Charge!
No! Who died? Oh, Sagani almost died. Alright.
Charge!
So now all we have to do is to strike at the crystal, right? An enormous crystal juts from the wall, like a spearhead protruding from a wound. An army of reflections stares back at you from the crystal's perfect facets. It echoes the sound of your footsteps in soft ringing hums. Someone will have to take up Abaddon's hammer and strike the crystal, and Ondra warned that whoever does so will be buried in this place with the eyeless. Whom do you choose? Shall I summon Beregan's ogres? Wait, if I do it myself, will I then reach game over? But I saved before, right? Okay, step back and consider this further. Let's save first. I'm guessing if I choose Aris to strike the crystal, Aris will die and the game will be over, right? Whom do you choose? Yourself, Aris.
It has been an honor to follow your lead.
Allah says, you have led us bravely, Aris Mittal. It has been an honor to follow your lead.
The gods really have it in for you. I wish they knew you like I did.
As long as I live, Masuk will sing your name alongside Persok's.
Everyone will know what you've done for us. I'll tell everyone I know. Not even the Sea Queen herself could stop me.
Stop it, Kana. Don't make a promise that you can't keep. You're saying not even the Sea Queen? Are you saying you want to go against Ondra?
Straight into the fire, then. Your chances aren't favorable, but at least you've learned to embrace the test. I told you I'd be good for you, Watcher.
I'd be good? What do you mean, Durans? You take the diving helmet and tuck it away, just in case. You take the diving helmet and tuck it away just in case. What diving helmet? Is it the diving helmet that we got after rescuing Mila from the cave full of wicked? Is that it? You have the hammer and swing it at the crystal. A perfect clear tone rings through the air and resonates through your teeth. Seconds later, ripples shiver through the water. Something big is coming. You give the others a final nod. The rest of the party scrambles out of the flooded cavern and flees through the tunnels. You continue hammering at the crystal, each strike magnifying the last. The echoes build into physical tremors. Meanwhile, a heavier rhythm pulses through the cave. Footsteps, dozens of them. The others round a corner only to see a line of eyeless advancing. The others round a corner only to see a line of eyeless advancing. The creatures stagger to the rhythm of the hammer thuds below, yet they crane their necks toward the party, racketing back their piston arms. Wait, if the eyeless respond to the hammer strikes, why didn't they respond in the first place when Aris was using it against the eyeless or other enemies? Doesn't make sense. Dodge past the eyeless. The party barrels through the monsters. However, one of them grazes Sagani with a mace-like fist in passing. Fortunately, the creatures are too focused on the hammering to give chase. They continue toward the cavern. You maintain a steady tempo on the crystal. Eyeless gather in the cavern where they batter the walls in time with the hammer's rhythmic blows. The ground shakes, falling rocks and shattering crystals splash to the ground. The party flees through dark, rumbling corridors. More spellbound eyeless shamble along, but they're too entranced by the swelling cadence to take more than an idle swipe at the party. The tunnel narrows, light filters through ahead. The exit must be around the next bend. But it's clogged with rubble. Meanwhile, the ground drops several feet at once, and the tunnel begins rolling on its axis. The distant sound of rushing water echoes from the cavern. Lever the rubble with the pry bar. There must be a weak spot, but it will take a practiced eye to find it. Who will clear the way? Who has the better eye, though? I wonder, was it Sagani? Let's try Sagani. Sagani wedges the pry bar into several different nooks, but can't seem to find a leverage point. What about Kana? Can't. Aloth? Eder? Durans? Dang it. What should we do? Consider other options. Dig through the rubble with bare hands. Everyone attacks the rubble together, tearing at the boulders with desperate strength. A roar of shattering rock rises from the depths, and the moon drops several more feet. A few minutes of furious work finally cleared the passage. The moon shudders again. The party escapes onto the ice just as another thunderous crash sounds from below. Eyeless continue pouring into the cavern from every visible tunnel and crevasse. Your ears ring at the ever-growing cacophony of smashing rock and shattering crystal. Meanwhile, the water level is rising. A skull-splitting crack rends the air, and as a surge of water knocks you from your feet, the entire cavern rotates, plunging you into a freezing soup of jagged metal, torn flesh, and stone. The others dash across the lake. The ice squeals and crackles, rocking dangerously underfoot. The sinking moon groans. Long fissures race across the ice. Scout for a more stable place to cross. The surface of the ice is riddled with cracks. Only someone who knows what to look for can find safe passage. Who will go? What about Sagani? Sagani charts a careful path across the ice, skirting cracks and dodging thin patches. The rest of the party follows. At last, everyone reaches the safety of the shore. In the middle of the lake, only the tip of the moon is still visible above the ice. The survivors watch in silence as it sinks into the depths. You trudge through the rubble at the lake bottom. The water is freezing, the air in the diving helmet is acrid, and the sound of your own breathing roars in your ears. Still, it's better than drowning. You navigate out of the settling rubble and see the ghostly light of the surface above. At last you reach the shallows. You punch through a thin crust of ice and crawl ashore trembling but alive. I wonder what would happen if we didn't get the diving helmet from Mila. I wonder, would Aris die and game over? Interesting. You stand at the edge of the lake. The bobbing of the ice and the rippling of the water's surface slows until you're looking at a moment frozen in time. When the world begins moving once more, it moves in reverse. You have lost an item, Beregan's battle horn. Alright. So Aris survived because of the diving helmet from the Mila's quest. The surface of the water churns and roils like it's about to spew something up, and it does. The fragment of Ionni Brathr rises unbroken. Ice reforms across the surface of the lake, spreading in long freezing fingers. Eyeless file out of the moon fragment and onto the ice. They wind around the moon in an ever-widening spiral. They stop as the head of their line reaches you. They speak in a single voice that resonates with grinding metal and hissing steam. I thought we were supposed to bury them under the water, but the eyeless survive. So it was all for nothing?
We shatter and sink, discarded like worn tools. Why have you consigned us to oblivion?
Wait, so the plan to drown the eyeless failed. They survive. It was all for nothing. Aris says he would have destroyed Kait Nua, Durgan's battery, and more. Their protest is as sharp as squealing metal.
Blasphemy! These are jewels of civilization. They are sacred.
Wait, did Ondra lie to us?
We would sooner sacrifice our own bodies than dislodge a single stone from such a place. Why do you torment us with baseless accusations?
Ondra changed you from a preserver to a destroyer. Should I choose number 3 or number 4? It's rational, right? Aris asks, who else could have done such damage to a mighty Pargrun fortress? I'll choose number 3. Ondra changed you from a preserver to a destroyer. The eyeless are still, but you hear their gears whir as their collective spirit ponders this.
Then we were betrayed.
Shall I choose number 1 or number 2? Interesting. Shall I choose number 1 or 2? Aris says, yes, you were transformed against your will.
And we were made to betray something we cherish.
You feel their bitter agony like a hammer strike. Aris asks, what was that?
The bedrock of civilization.
Suddenly, they attack the ice beneath them, slicing and shattering it with mighty swings from their iron arms. And where the ice breaks, ancient towers rise, blotting out the blue sky and white peaks. Aris says, "Those are Angwithan."
Each culture builds on the bones of the last. Yet many only look up at where they would go, never down at the foundations that bear them. Like a mason who builds a listing tower.
The remaining ice sheet cracks and groans.
What peril do they inflict on their progeny? And what dishonor on their forebears?
You hear the strain of crumbling stone in the voice of the eyeless.
An argument I've had with the Lore College. Now I have divine counsel in my favor, and I can hardly present it as evidence. How frustrating.
Is it Kana's voice? Aris says, "The betrayal of memory upsets you greatly."
It is accepting a gift only to spit in the face of the giver. Every advance in the crafts and institutions of Kith was forged by skill and sacrifice.
You feel these words and the anger behind them in your bones.
A people cut off from their history will wither, and they deserve no less.
Aris asks, "Then what do you suggest?"
To pull the blinders from the eyes of gods and Kith.
How?
That is why we must return to ourself and restore Abidan.
Aris asks, "What do you mean about returning to yourself?"
When Ionni Brathr fell, Abidan lost much. His will to preserve, the memory of how and why he died. But he built us with fragments of his own soul. In returning, we can restore what was taken from him.
What should Aris do? Aris says, "Very well. Return to yourself and be the god of preservation once more."
We shall see this world and its people restored.
A great wind shoves at your back, your ears pop, and you feel for a moment as if all of the air is being sucked from the sky. Suddenly, it ends and you are standing in the snow, looking over Chiron's scar. No tower? Oh, I guess there was a vision, not really happening, yeah?
The Eyeless disappeared beneath the lake, their bond to Andra finally severed. With this threat ended, hope returned to the White March. Hunters returned to the wildernesses, and travelers to the roads. Tales of the Watcher's bravery replaced stories of monsters in the woods. The villagers of Stalwart busied their hands with work and their tongues with song, eager to seize on the promise of peace.
Okay, so Ionni Brathr did sink along with the Eyeless. So the conversation with the Eyeless was a vision. Alright, quest completed.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Where should we go now? Should we check the people at Stalwart? Yeah, why not? Thanks for keeping the fishery open. That place saw Stalwart through lean times. Renengild says, "You've done it again. Hopefully we can enjoy some real peace now." I wonder, where is Renengild's son? I forgot his name, but I know Renengild has a son. But I didn't find him anywhere. Where is he?
Plenty of work to be done indeed.